So a little drama, by the way, in Yankee camp. And I told you that yesterday was much ado about nothing. Marcus Stroman didn't show up with the rest of the pitchers and catchers. And by the way, he did show up. He took his physical. He reported on the day of pitchers and catchers, which he did not have to do. The collective bargaining agreement dictates that you have to be there on February 22nd. You are not considered late unless you pass February 22nd. He showed up today, this morning, on Valentine's Day. And I love all the headlines and all the stories on the internet and in the newspapers. Stroman late to Yankee camp. No, he wasn't. He wasn't late. When you abide by the decisions of the basic agreement and the codicils in the basic agreement, you're not late. But he did show up today. And I've said over and over and over and over and over and over and over again that you cannot defend the Yankees signing him to that contract. It made no sense when they did it. It makes less sense now. So today when he spoke with the media, he said, I am not a reliever. I'm a starter. I'm not relieving. So you know what that did? That was a square kick right in the cubes of the Yankee organization as they try to trade this guy. Because if there is not a Yankee starter that gets hurt in spring training, then Stroman is a reliever. And he does not want to be a reliever. And if he does become a reliever, he's going to kick up a storm. And I've explained this to you before. I understand why he's angry. He didn't sign with the Yankees to be a reliever. He signed with the Yankees to be a starter. And the only way that his $18 million third year kicks in is if he pitches 140 innings this year. He's not doing that if he's a reliever. But this should come as no surprise. That's why when the Yankees decide to sign him, shame on them. They knew the type of player he was. They knew that he sometimes rankles people in the organizations in which he plays. They knew it. And they still decided to give this guy a 3-year, $18 million a year contract. Makes no sense. 1 year in, and it's already a headache. And we know they want to trade him. But he just took away any leverage that they have. Because every team out there that might be interested in Stroman, saying, well, the Yankees have to trade him. He's going to be a reliever. He's just going to kick up a storm. Now, the Yankees could play games, too. Say they don't trade him, and he is a long reliever on their team. I'm not a reliever. Well, walk out and don't take the money. Fine with us. But that's Marcus Stroman. He's not going to hold his tongue. He's going to tell you what he thinks. They said, well, do you want to be, I'm very close with everybody here. You could ask them. And from what I could tell last year, his teammates liked him. Aaron Judge likes him, which is pretty important. He's the captain. But you got a guy who's coming straight out and saying, I am not doing what they want me to do if that thing they want me to do is pitch it as a relief pitcher. You sign a player like Marcus Stroman, you have to expect like this is something that's going to happen. It's mind-boggling. One day, I'm sure he's not going to talk about it publicly. I'm going to pull aside Brian Cashman and go, tell me you're thinking. You would not trade for this guy when he was with Toronto. You would not trade. You made the comment that he could make your postseason roster. And you know what? You were right. Because you went to the World Series last year. He was not active in one of the series. And the other two, he didn't even warm up. He was on the active roster, didn't even warm up. So the position that he hates, relief pitcher, is exactly what he was during the postseason. Exactly. What made you think that this was a good expenditure of funds? So now you got the Yankees desperately needing to trade him so they could get under the Cohen tax, which taxes you at 110% because you're a repeat offender. And now you get the guy who you're trying to trade saying, I'm not going to be a reliever. So it makes it even tougher to trade because the Yankees could trade him easily if they eat all the money. But the important thing is they need to have a team eat at least $9 million of the 18 because you're $4 million over the luxury tax. I guess if you get some team to eat $5 million of the 18, you could do it. But Marcus Stroman just made it tougher. He just made it more difficult for the Yankees. And they shouldn't be surprised because he's done this everywhere. It's like a team that acquires Jimmy Butler. You know how it's going to end. It's a team that acquires Kyrie Irving. You know how it's going to end. People don't change. You have to pay attention to the past. If you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it. And the Yankees are repeating history because of Marcus Stroman. He's a headstrong guy who will not put up with any kind of perceived slight. He said, I'm a starter. Not many people give you 30 starts a year. I do it all the time. But here's the problem. His last year in Chicago, in the second half, he ran out of gas. And then he, for some reason, opted out of his contract. And the Yankees were there to save his backside by giving him a ridiculous contract. And he said, I'm one of the few pitchers in the game that could give you 30 starts. 15 really good ones. And then his size betrays him. He runs out of gas. He did not have a good second half last year. The only way Marcus Stroman is a happy camper is if one of the starters ahead of him gets hurt, and then he could be a starter. This is what the Yankees got when they signed up with this guy. Sorry, they did. They might not like hearing me say it, but it's true. And I said it before it happened. You know who else said it too? Peter Rosenberg. Why should anybody be surprised by the way this has come down? Why? And I'm the one who's saying he didn't do anything wrong by reporting today. I'm the one who said he didn't do anything wrong. He did not break any rules. The Yankees cannot fine him. He's reported 8 days ahead of schedule. But then what he did today was he set fire to the bridge. I am not a reliever. I'm a starter. Oh, yeah, on this team, no injuries. You know what? You're a reliever. You're a long reliever. You're not going to get into many games. Let's hear from you. 1-800-919-3776. 2:30 today. 2:30. We're talking to the Mets manager, Carlos Mendoza. 2 o'clock, Jets writer from the New York Post, Brian Costello. Coming up at 1:30. So let's see, that's about 13 minutes from now. We're going to talk to Dan Shaughnessy, the legendary Boston Globe columnist, to get some of his take on the Alex Bregman signing. But now I want to talk to you. Guys back in the studio, I do not have control of the board, so you're going to have to follow me. We'll start with Q Uptown.
Hey, Michael K. Good to speak to you, my brother.
Thank you, man.
I don't know if I'm gonna get in contact with you before the season starts, but have a great season.
Thank you, man.
Safe travels and everything. I am a pissed off Yankee fan, and I'm gonna tell you why. I hope somebody from the Yankees, besides yourself, is listening. Let me tell y'all, we need to get back to the point where people could stop telling us what they're going to do. This is a team. It runs from the top to the bottom. Marcus Stroman, you don't have no right. You don't have no say on what you're going to do. If I need you to play first base, guess what? Pick up a first baseman glove and get over there and play first base. I apologize from the fans to Brian Cashman and to Aaron Boone because it looks like last year during the playoffs, he probably wanted to be a starter. And they had no space for him. And he did not pitch. And that pisses me off because that wasted a spot.
Well, of course he wanted to be a starter during the playoffs. But he did the right thing. The playoffs, he even said today, the playoffs are a different thing. You have to do what the team asks. But he's thinking about himself, which is what he should do, I guess. It doesn't make you the best teammate, doesn't make you happy or make the organization happy. But the bottom line is, if you're a reliever, as Q just said, you know what? You're a reliever. And if you don't want to be a reliever, then go away and we're not going to pay you. You won't even get your $18 million this year. Or he could be somebody who's a distraction, which he's going to be if you make him a reliever. He will not hold his tongue. He just won't. That's not the way he's built. Norris in Michigan. Norris.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike.
How you doing, Norris?
I'm doing good, man. I just wanted to talk about the Stroman situation. I know that last caller talked about Stroman having to just, you're employed by the team. You got to follow them, whatever they tell you. But Cashman, now we see how he felt about, the defense last year not being up to par, especially Glaber, up the middle. And he signed Stroman, knowing Stroman's peripherals are ground ball pitcher, contact, knowing that and knowing that your defense is subpar last year, you can't help but to just say this is on Cashman for making that a bad signing. And giving $18 million to this pitcher, who is a contact pitcher and doesn't fit it doesn't help the team when he has a bad defense around him. I think he had the worst DRS behind him. The defenders had the worst DRS. Like, he didn't have any support. He had the worst support, and that's why his ERA was inflated and all that stuff. So I think this is more on Cashman. And on top of that, he's throwing him under the bus. All these beat writers coming out and making it known that he's not showing up to the camp, even though it's not mandatory. Like, this is all planned. This is Cashman's way of trying to make it seem like Stroman's the bad guy and all that stuff. I mean, this is – I have to blame Cashman for this. Bad signing on your part.
Well, let me push back a little bit, Norris. Let me push back a little bit, okay? Yankees didn't announce that he didn't show up. There are writers there. They see the guys on the field every day. They noticed that Marcus Stroman – his uniform was in his locker. He wasn't on the field. So they wrote it. It's not that the Yankees presented that just to make Stroman look bad. I think, and I've said this over and over, Norris, the Yankee writers and reporters, they overreacted. The guy was not late. Is it a story that he didn't show up with the rest of the pitchers? I guess so, but he didn't do anything wrong. He did not do anything wrong. And I think it was mishandled. One thing, though, I watched every start the guy made. I watched every pitch the guy threw. The defense wasn't kind to him. It wasn't kind to anybody. But other pitchers pitched around the defense. This is a contact-oriented guy. So they didn't do him any favors having a weak defense behind him. They didn't. I agree. But he was also throwing 89 miles an hour. His fastball was 89 miles an hour. He was not locating well. He was not throwing strikes. He was going to 3-2 on everybody because he knew if he threw 89 over the plate, he's going to get crushed. But they knew that this is the pitcher that he was. Why would you pivot after making an all-out attempt to get Yamamoto, and then your pivot is Marcus Stroman? Right now, Brian Cashman is sitting in his office in Tampa and regretting ever doing this because his first inclination on Marcus was right. He could not make my postseason roster. That's why they didn't trade for him. All of a sudden, when he becomes a free agent, you think he could make your postseason roster or rotation? No, you were right the first time. Joe in the Bronx.
Hey, Michael. Thanks for taking a call.
You got it, Joe.
So, do you think there's any chance? I know St. Louis is trying to shed Arenado's contract. Why can't the Yankees maybe throw in an infielder, minor league infielder, to try to get Stroman there, and then they can fill their third base needs, at least defensively? I know Arenado doesn't hit the way he used to, but defensively he's great.
That would be what I would try, Joe. I don't even think that they don't even throw in an infielder. Now, the Cardinals are desperate to get rid of this guy. They've announced that they would prefer to start the season without him. Today, they came out and said it looks like he's going to be on the team. He doesn't want to be there. They don't want him there. When you look at his contract, I think he's owed $24 million a year for the next 3 years. If you trade Stroman for Arenado, gets Arenado out of their hair, the Yankees end up saving $6 million. Or they're saving $12 million, and you take on the remainder of Arenado's contract. Although the Yankees would still be over the threshold, which is what they want to get under. So I don't know if that's enough of a deal for them. I think it's imperative for them, from what I hear, to get under the Cohen tax. They do not want to be over it. They do not like the penalties. So I don't know what they're going to do. I want to see the team that's going to eat a significant amount, even 50% of Marcus Stroman's contract. I want to see it. Although Gene Michael used to say, all right, you don't think I could trade somebody? And then he makes a trade and say, I didn't tell you what I was going to get. I said I could trade him. He said that about Danny Tartable when he got Ruben Sierra. He said that to Buck Showalter. So let's see Brian pull a rabbit out of a hat. Let's see if he could trade Marcus Stroman and have the team that's getting him eat at least 50% of the contract. I doubt that deal is out there, but we'll see. And the reason why it's not out there, if a team does get him and then pitches him 140 innings, they owe him $18 million next year too. So they'd want the Yankees to assume some of that too. If it does come to pass that he pitches 140 innings. And if you look at his record, he will. He doesn't break down. His stuff drops, but he doesn't break down. He's a horse. He really is. He'll give you innings. And that's one of my least favorite things in baseball. He'll give you innings. Well, what kind of innings? What kind of innings are he going to give you? A 4.0 ERA innings? Or is he going to give you a 2.50 ERA innings? He's more of the former.